Today, we are working on basically the entire spine. So from your low back up to, and your sacrum will, your pelvis counts, as does your neck, but more between your low back and your upper back. So this region of your spine. And we'll be mostly focusing on extension, which is like a back bend. But in order to get better extension, we have to also work flexion. So that will be our main focus of today. We're going to start with the foam roller. And this will be the only thing that we'll be using the foam roller for. You can use a block for this. It's not as comfortable with a block. You can also use 2 tennis balls in a sock. So we're going to start seated in front of the foam roller. And when you roll back onto the foam roller, you're going to roll into this section, which is above your low back, right? So it's where your rib cage kind of starts, this section right here. So feet on the floor, knees bent, not in your low back area, just above it. We are going to take a few rolls with the hips lifted. And this is just to kind of get used to the sensation. So you are rolling the whole spine. We're not really treating anything at this point in time. We're not rolling out the spine. You might get some pops and crackles. Feels sometimes good to allow that to happen. And then come back to that starting position, butt on the floor. Bring your hands across your chest with one hand on either shoulder. And we're just going to start to extend and flex. So we're not trying to go back as far as we can. We're just kind of testing the range that feels comfortable for us. So when we lift our chest towards our knees, we're moving into flexion. And as we take the shoulders towards the floor behind us, we're moving into extension. And challenge you by asking you to close your eyes and move into the space that's directly on the foam roller. And just start to notice how this area moves. As you go into extension, shoulders towards the floor, notice how the muscles on the sides of the spine to kind of shorten to take you there. And as you roll up into flexion, it's more of a contraction of the front of your butt. So we're going to go back into extension. Find a place that's relatively comfortable for you. Make sure that you're not dropping your head back, more like you're touching your chin to your chest. And then you're just going to pulse here. So barely moving. And the neck, again, is not driving the motion. The only area that's moving is the area that's on the foam roller. And then go a little bit more into extension. And imagine that you are contracting the muscles on either area of the spine, like you're trying to pinch the foam roller with your spine. And hold. Chin towards throat, so don't let the head fall back. You can even hold the head if that's more comfortable. Good. Lift the hips, walk the hips down towards your feet a little bit more. So you'll feel the foam roller up about 3 inches from where it was. And move your hands to actually hold your head, using them to turn your chin in towards your throat. And we're going to do the same thing. So you're going to extend or arch your back, and then you're going to flex by taking your head and your chest towards your knees. And we're not trying to get a lot of range. You're just trying to work with the range that is easily accessible, not painful. Take one of your hands and place it on the bottom of your rib cage. Let the other hand continue to hold your head. And notice as you work this area, do you feel that your ribs flare open into your hands? Resist this. So try not to let your back hyper arch. where your ribs would lift. Keep your ribs where they are and just allow the spine to move in that range. And then the next time you arch back, hold, chin towards throat, let your hands hold your head. And then without flaring the ribs open, pinch the foam roller with your spine. And hold. Almost as if it could pull you further into extension, but only to the point where the ribs stay where they are. They don't lift further away from the roller. Good. Come up into flexion, lift the hips. One more time, walk the hips down. So now more or less you're between your shoulder blades. And we're going to repeat that process. First, drop your ribs towards the floor. And then just let that part that's on the foam roller create a back bend and then a rounding. And again, you're monitoring the ribs and you're trying to keep them pinned down to the ground. Less is more here, because if we go into rib flare, we're no longer extending the area on the foam roller, we're extending the whole spine, and we're trying to isolate just the area on the foam roller. Next time you go into that upper back bend, stay there. Take your chin towards your throat. Use the hands to hold the head, and then try to pull your upper back into a back bend more without flaring the ribs. And hold thus. So I am using my upper core a lot to keep my ribs drawing towards the floor. And I'm using the muscles on either side of my spine to draw the area of my back that's on the foam roller further into a back bend without dropping my head back. Good. Lift up. Lift the hips and take just a few passes through your spine one more time. And then you can set yourself up. We are done with the foam roller. So you can move that out of the way. We're going to now come back onto our back. And we're moving in bridge pose segmentally. So oftentimes I tell you to move your pelvis and the ribs at the same time. This time we're going to do the opposite. You're going to peel one vertebrae off the floor at a time as you lift up into bridge. And then as you come down, I even like to use my hands to push from my upper back down. And then to lift, roll back up one vertebrae at a time. And then as you come down, start from between your shoulder blades, pushing one vertebrae at a time towards. You feel any tension in your neck while you're doing this? Chin towards throat, lengthen the back of your neck towards the floor and relax your jaw. And just continue to practice this a few more times. So trying to peel one vertebrae off the floor as you lift up into that bridge pose. And then as you come down, pushing one vertebrae at a time from between the shoulder blades down through your low back. And as you're doing this, notice if there's a region of your spine that feels like it's stuck, where you can't move through individual vertebrae at a time. If you find that, pause there and just kind of pulse through that region a few times, both as you lift spine off the floor and as you peel it back down. And for me, those two regions are different when I lift and when I lower. When I lift, I have a harder time in my low back, segmentally peeling the spine off the floor. And as I lower down, it's it's more around my bra strap area that I feel there's a region that's stuck. So I'm just kind of pausing in those areas and kind of pulsing through. Good. Bend the knees up towards the chest, hug the knees in, and rock a little side to side. Whenever you're ready, you can either roll to the side and sit up, or you can just rock through your spine up. So we're going to take one block, and you may find that a block is too thick. So as we're doing this, if you feel that you can't get any movement, you can use your blanket as a folded up thick blanket underneath your hand instead of your block. So we're going to take the block and place your left hand on the block and your right hand on the floor. So you are slightly cockeyed here. So we're going to start by doing a few cat-cow with this cockeyed setup for your arm. So my encouragement is to close your eyes and just move through that arching of your full spine and then your rounding of your full spine. And just notice what you feel in this cockeyed position. And the next time you come into that cat position or the rounded position, you're going to stay in the rounded position. You're going to take a breath in and try to breathe into the area that your bra strap would be. So bottom of the rib cage, slightly higher than bottom of the rib cage. So inhale into that area. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to turn your rib cage towards the arm that's on the block. So you're going to turn your chest towards the arm that's on the block. Inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 8, twist, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, cow pose, so arch your spine. Exhale for 1, round, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale into your back, so bra strap area. And then as you exhale, start to turn your chest towards your left arm, the arm that's on the block. And really long exhale. Good. Inhale, come back into that cow pose. Exhale, round through your spine, so cat pose. Head looking down towards your belly button. Inhale for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you exhale, start to twist just your chest towards your left bicep. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Sit back on your heels. You can rest your forehead on the block. You can rest your forehead on your hands. You can rest your forehead on the floor. Just take a few deep breaths and notice how your ribs feel on the back side of your body. Notice how it feels to breathe in that area. And if you feel perhaps that you can breathe a little bit more easily into that left side of your lungs. And we're going to shift back up to tabletop again, this time moving the block under your right hand. So first, just move through cat-cow a few times, normally with your own breath. Really pushing through both hands, and notice how the ribs shift a little differently with our hands in that cockeyed position. And then the next exhale, round through your spine. Inhale into that region right below your bra strap. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you exhale, start to turn just your chest towards your right bicep. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale into cow position, so arch your back. And then as you exhale, long exhale, 8, 7, round, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale into the bra strap. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, start to twist. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale into the cat. Exhale, round. Go ahead and release the block from underneath your right hand. And again, sit back into child's pose. Good. We're going to take both blocks and have them on the long, narrow edges, shoulder distance apart. We're going to take the dowel rod and you're going to hold the dowel rod between your hands, shoulder distance apart, palms up. So an underhand grip. We're going to bring our elbows down onto the block. So this might take some finesse. You might have to kind of let go of the dowel rod and set yourself up. We are in that tabletop position again. Knees are slightly behind your hips though. So right now I have my forearms and my elbows on the block. We're going to start to move into extension. But first we're going to curl the dowel rod to the crown of our head. We're going to start to shift our hips back. And as we do, dowel rod follows the crown of the head. Walk the elbow slightly forward. Find your nipples without dropping the rib cage towards the floor. So pull the rib cage away from the floor. So lift the rib cage away from the floor, but reach the nipples up like they're shifting towards the block. And then curl the dowel rod down and curl it back up. So you're still lifting the ribs away from the floor, but you're arching your upper back by reaching the nipples up between your elbows. And just curl and straighten your elbows. Shift forward, round your spine, cat or cow your spine. So arch and round. We're going to do that one more time. So back the knees up a little further. Start by reaching the hips back towards your heels as far as you can. So you're going to be a little closer towards the floor. Lift the ribs away from the floor. Curl the dowel rod maybe now to your neck or your upper back. Keep lifting the ribs away from the floor, but reach your nipples forward. So we're moving into a region of the spine that we very rarely isolate movement with. So this might feel really challenging. You're pressing the elbows down into the blocks, lifting the ribs away from the floor, but stretching the nipples towards the block. Good. Release the forearms down, crawl back up. And again, round and arch the back. As you're moving through cat-cow, can you find a little bit of that awareness of reaching the nipples forward instead of just dropping your ribs towards the floor? So can you keep a little integrity in the front of your core with the ribs not dropping and reach more with your upper back? Good. Move the blocks. We're going to cross our forearms, bring them down to the floor. So now we're moving more into that flexion. So move into cat pose, so rounding, and you will feel the rounding more now in your upper back. And then go into cow, reach the nipples between your arms. Round, push your hands down. Arch, reach your nipples forward. Switch the wrist that's on front and do a few more. So can you create more extension in your upper back and your mid back? Good. So we're going to go back to the dowel rod. We're going to sit on a block. If you are comfortable on your knees like so, I just feel like it makes it a little bit more accessible. You can stack a number of blocks on top of each other. However, if that is just not comfortable, you can even sit in a chair for this, but you can sit cross-legged. You're going to take the dowel rod and bring it behind your back and link your elbows underneath the dowel rod. So I'm going to turn around so you can see the regions of my spine that we're working as we work them. So right now I have it right at the bottom of where my rib cage is. And I'm going to start with flexion. And I'm going to start to poke that region into the dowel rod. So I'm not even worrying about extension yet. I'm just seeing, can I move that particular vertebrae into the dowel rod? And once I've found that, I'm going to go into flexion, and I'm going to go way into flexion. So I'm going to round my upper back. And then as I come into extension, I'm just going to try to extend the area over the dowel rod. I have moved my hands to the bottom of my rib cage to try to encourage them to stay down. And I'm going to move back and forth between that a few times. And I'll turn around again so you can see I have my hands here so that when I go into extension, I don't go like this. And then move the dowel rod up a little bit. So now I have it basically right below the tips of my shoulder blades. And again, first, I'm just going to move into that flexion. So trying to poke that region of my spine, and only that region of my spine, into the dowel rod. And then once I have that, I'm going to go deep into flexion. Let more of the spine round. And then I'm going to start to imagine that I'm pulling just that region off the dowel rod, but the dowel rod follows it. My hands move to the bottom of my rib cage to keep the ribs from flaring. And then I go back and forth between that. Notice how much you want to shove your whole rib cage forward, and see if instead you can stretch through the crown of the head and engage the muscles on the spine. The tension in the spine, then in the ribs. Good. We're going to now grab it and hold the dowel rod in your hand and about mid-spine or middle of the shoulder blade. Same thing. It's a little hard with your hands here, but can you push the spine back to tap the film, the dowel rod? And then hold the dowel rod there. And as if you were arcing up and over the dowel rod, just in that region. Notice the ribs. Keep them down and in. Notice the head, chin, throat. So just the region where the dowel rod is. Right. But not on the neck. Around just your upper back, way upper back into the dowel rod. And then once you have that, round all the way through your upper back. And then as you start to arch, can you move just that region? And then move down a little lower. Good. We're going to come down onto our bellies. Forehead on the floor. Wide all the way, so you're making a V with your hand on the dowel rod. You're going to start by keeping your hands on the floor. Lift the floor. Elbows turn to the floor. Just lift the dowel rod. So elbows stay down. Dowel rod lift. Dowel rod comes down. Head comes down. Lift your chest. The head lifts because the chest lifts. And then lift the dowel rod. Lower the dowel rod. Lower your head. One more time like that. Chest moves away from the floor. Head lifts. I'm still looking straight down at the floor. Then dowel rod, elbows stay on the floor. Lower, lower the head. Now we're going to go the opposite. You're going to lift the dowel rod off the floor, then head and chest lift. Head and chest down, dowel rod down. Push the feet down into the floor, thighs into the floor. Lift the arms and the dowel rod as high off the floor as you can. And then lift your head and your chest. Head, chest down, dowel rod down. One more time. Press legs, press feet. Dowel rod, head, chest. Head, chest down, dowel rod down. Hands underneath the shoulders. Press up through hands and knees. Sit your hips back towards your heels. You can rest your forehead on the block. You can rest your forehead on the floor. You can rest your forehead on your fist or your hands and breathe. We're moving into a neutral or even a flex spine after all of that work. Come up to hands and knees and step your right leg forward. Grab your dowel rod and take it back behind your back. So now I have my hands more or less, my forearms resting on the back of the dowel rod, my hands resting on the ends of the dowel rod. So you're going to keep your hips squared forward, but turn, open, so away from your right leg. And then you're going to tilt to your right leg. Look towards your left hand. Move your rib cage towards the dowel rod. Twist back. Fold forward. Inhale, come upright. Exhale, twist, open to the left. Tilt. Right hand towards your right knee. Gaze towards your left hand. Move the rib cage towards the dowel rod. Good. Lift out of the twist or the tilt and then twist back towards the front leg. Keep your rib cage on the dowel rod as you hinge forward. One more time, lift up, keep the hips squared forward, rotate, move the left side of your rib cage more into the dowel rod and gaze towards your left hand tilt. Come out of the tilt, come out of the twist, tilt forward, tuck your left toe under, and then lift to a crescent lunge. You can have your back heel on the ground if you need it for stability, or you can lift it off the floor. We're gonna now take the dowel rod out in front of us. I still have a wide grip. So dowel rod wide, I'll actually face you. Bring the dowel rod over your head. You're gonna lean back and touch it to the top of your chest. Shift forward, bring it to your upper back, tilt forward. Come upright, bring it over your head. As you bring it to your chest, lift your collarbone towards the foam roller. Yeah, lift it up, bring it behind your back, tilt forward. So I'm going to show you from the side for the last one. So inhale. What we're not doing is thrusting the ribs forward, right? We're more stretching the chest towards the dowel rod as we bring the dowel rod down. And then lift it up, behind your back, hinge. Come upright, lift the dowel rod up, bring it behind your back. Grab the bar, overhand grip, lift the bar as far away from your thigh as you can, tap it down. It's just a few times. But again, what we're looking for is we don't want to see this rib thrust as we lift. We want the extension to come more from the entire spine and not just a segment of the spine. Good. Come all the way to the top of the mat. You can lower the dowel rod to the floor. Inhale, reach your arms over your head. Move your hips forward. Keep your ribs in. Lift your collarbones towards the ceiling as you gaze up. And then fold. Bent knees or straight knees, hands to the floor or the block. Grab your opposite elbow and hang. Each time you inhale, inhale into your bra strap area or right above the bottom of your rib cage and kind of lift that region of the spine towards the ceiling. So inhale, lift the back of the rib cage towards the ceiling. Exhale, lower. Inhale, let it lift. Exhale, let it lower. One more time. Good. Hands to the floor of the block. Bend the knees deeply and come back to kneeling. So we're going to take hands to the blocks this time. You can have them at the medium height or you can have them at the lower height. Knees are slightly behind the hips, tuck the toes under, reach the hips towards the heels. Hold the hands in the blocks as you stretch your nipples towards the blocks. Ribs away from the floor, but you can lower your chest. So instead of dropping the ribs, keep lifting the ribs away from the floor. Keep lowering the chest, the upper chest towards the floor as the nipples pull towards the block. Good. Shift back to hands and knees. Cross your wrist, cat-cow. Opposite wrist on top. And do a few in this movement. Good. Come down onto your elbows. So elbows are underneath your shoulders. Lower belly's on the floor. Take your feet about mat distance apart. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. Press your knees into the floor. Press the tops of the thighs into the floor. Keep your pubic bone on the floor and start to peel your belly button off the floor. Keep pulling the belly button off the floor until you can't anymore without the pubic bone lifting. Keep pulling the belly button off the floor. Stretch the nipples between your arms and hold. Elbows pulling back towards hips, nipples stretching between your arms. Good. Release. Hands underneath your shoulders. Press up through hands and knees. And step your left leg forward. So I'm going to face you this time so you can see it from this vantage point. So left leg forward. Bring the bar behind your back. Good. Inhale, keep your hips squared forward. As you exhale, twist towards your right, tilt to your left knee. Gaze towards your left hand. Right hand. Come out of the tilt, twist forward. So we have our hands slightly different this time. Inhale. Keep your hips squared forward. Exhale, twist rib cage towards the right, and then tilt towards your left knee. Gaze towards your right hand. Ribs towards your right. Come out of the tilt. Shift forward. Hinge forward. Lift back up. Keep hips squared forward. Twist. Open to the right. Tilt to the left. Ribs and head look towards your right hand. Come out of the tilt. Come out of the twist. Hinge forward, tuck your right toes under, and stand. Front knee stays bent. Arms over your head. Stretch your collarbone up. Keep the ribs down. Bring the dowel to the top of your collarbone. Lift up. Bring it behind your back. Forward. Come back upright. Bar over your head. Ribs stay down as collarbone stretches up. Arch back slightly. Lift up. Upper back. Tilt forward. One more time. Upright. Start to stretch nipples towards the sky. Ribs stay down. Down to the collarbone. Lift up. Upper back. Or hinge forward. Come up. Then bring it behind your back. And again, stay upright in your spine as you lift, this time with an underhand grip. Lift away and forward. And we're avoiding thrusting to get that. So you're trying to more lift the nipple rather than thrusting the ribs forward. Good. Bring it up, step it up, and bring the dowel rod down. Inhale, arms come over your head. This time we'll cactus. So bring the elbows down. Top of the chest lift. Nipples lift. Hips come forward. Ribs still staying slightly down. Good. Arms up, round forward. Hands to the blocks of the floor. Knees bent, let your spine round. And then pulse up and down. So each inhale, moving, lifting the rib cage towards the ceiling. And exhaling, dropping back down, head closer to the floor. Good. And bring the knees back down to the floor. Move the blocks out of the way. Cat cow. And then child. Child. How's the breath feeling? So we're going to take the gliders and you're going to bring them. I'm going to move my mat so you can see me a little bit better. I think if you go too far forward, you'll be able to see me. Two options here. You can either have elbows on the gliders or your blanket, or you can have your so elbows, watch for elbows, it looks like this. So you're pulling elbows. Hands, it looks like this. And notice I'm not is lifting my head, right? That's going to send it straight in. Away from the floor because I am pulling either my elbows or my hands towards my hips. Come up into that full back extension. So try it. Yeah, looks good, Lisa. And just go down and up. So this is a combination of, you're using your lats a little bit to pull the gliders towards your hips, but you're also using those muscles along your spine to pull yourself up into extension. And if you think of that awareness of the nipples moving towards the hands rather than the head lifting, you'll feel even more of that full extension through the full segments of your spine. Take a break, rest your forehead on your hands, move your hips side to side. Come up to hands and knees. Move the block back to your mat. You're going to bring your elbows onto your block and drop down into a cobra position with the elbows on the blocks. So my elbows are underneath my shoulders. Feet press into the floor, thighs press into the floor, pubic bone presses into the floor, lower belly moves away from the floor. Lower belly moves away from the floor, lift the pubic bone off the floor. Now knees are on the floor. Tuck the toes, lift knees off the floor. So coming into a plank position, looking straight down between the blocks. Keep looking straight down between the blocks, bend the knees back to the floor. Heel the thighs down to the floor. Start to stretch the nipples forward. And then one more time, peel the tops of the thighs away from the floor. Knees on the floor, pause. Toes tuck, lift the knees. Bend the knees. Stretch the nipples forward. Feel the thighs peel down. And then nipples peel forward. Good. Hands onto the block. Cat cow with hands on the block. So we're going to move now to your base. You're going to take the band and wrap it around kind of that region where your sports bra would be, if you wear one. And then you're going to grab, if you have handles, grab the handles. Otherwise, take the hands so the bands are inside the hand. Bring the hands down to the floor. And we're moving cat-cow just in the region where. So all this on, not allowing the ribs to fully collapse towards the floor. So keeping the ribs moving away from the floor or more towards the spine. Trying to control movement and extension by reaching the nipples forward and moving the muscles on the sides of your spine into a contraction. Good. Shift up, bring your right leg forward. So elbows bent at your sides. You're going to curl over as you open your arms. And then you're going to round into it. So roll over it, round into it. And we're not moving our hips. We're just trying to move the region of the spine that has the band wrapped around it. And then if that feels good, you can take your arms wide and try to do it with arms wide. Good. Elbows at your side. Tuck your left toes under. Come up in that crescent lunge. So feet are wide. You're going to take the band. You can double it up. Or if that's too much resistance, you can just take one side of it and take it over your head. So this time we're going to bend our elbows. Stretch it to our collarbone. Come up. Round it forward. So stretch it to our collarbone. Ribs stay down and in. Come up. Round just your upper back. One. Collarbone. Up. Good. Release that. Come to the front of your mat. Inhale, arms reach over your head. Hips move forward. Nipples stretch up. Ribs stay down. Gaze up. Arch back. Exhale, round down. One time, lift the back of your ribs towards the sky. Exhale, drop it down. Come back to hands and knees. Take the band. We're going to go a little bit higher on the spine this time. So more like it's under your armpit and between your shoulder blades. Come down to hands and knees. We're not moving the whole spine. You're trying to isolate the movement of the spine just to the region where the band is. It's very little movement. You want to round into it, but then the kicker is, can you stretch your nipples forward? You find extension in a region of our spine where we rarely find extension. Good. Left knee forward, keep it in this region of your spine. And this time, you're going to move the arm straight forward, push that part of your spine into the band, and then slowly start to peel it away. Push. Slowly start to peel it away. And it's not a squeezing of the shoulder blades together, although that does happen a little bit. It's more that spine away, and then shoulder blades come together. Good. Tilt forward. Tuck the toe under. Come up to that crescent warrior. Band over your head. Go a little bit narrower on the band this time. Cat arms. See if you can get just that top part of your spine. And then round it. Collarbones lift. Ribs stay down and in. And then round it. One more time. Step up. Last time with this, arms up. Practice lift just the collarbone. Good. Arms reach up, round down. Grab the opposite elbow, hang, and maybe start to rock side to side a bit. Release the hands to the ground. Come to hands and knees. Take your band. Place your band around the arch of your right foot. Take the band between your knees. And then wrap it around your left thumb. Take the right leg back. Stretch the right left arm forward. And lift and lower your right leg. Hold. Move your belly or your ribs away from the band and stretch the nipples forward. Release both the hands and the knee to the ground. Put your grip to your right hand. Lie on your belly. Arch of your right foot. Tuck your right toe under. And then stretch your right hand or right arm to the floor. Right bicep right beside your right ear. Take your left hand behind your head. Lift your head into your hand. So if you have your hand where your hairline meets your neck, right? So it's not on the top of your head. Hand is on where your hairline meets your neck. That's the region you're going to lift into. So that part of your head, lift into your hand to lift your chest off the floor, and then turn your left elbow towards the sky and find a little twist. Come down. Good. Keep pushing through your right fist and the band on your right foot. Lift the back of your head into your hand and then turn your elbow towards the sky. It's very little and come back down. One more. So lift the back of your head into your hand Turn your elbow and your chest to the left. Turn back down towards the floor. Come back. Let the band go. Stack your hands and swivel your hips side to side. Come up through hands and knees. Go into child's pose just for a couple of breaths. Just kind of round through that. Grab the band and complete this on the other side. So, band wraps around the arch of your left foot. And you hold it on your right thumb. The band goes between your knees, and we're in hands and knees. Stretch your left leg straight back, and then lift the left leg off the ground, and the right arm forward. Keep the right arm where it is, and just lift and lower your left leg. Keep the leg lifted, lift the ribs off the band, stretch the nipples forward. Release. You're going to switch the band onto your left hand. Band comes on the outside of your knees. Come down onto your belly. Stretch the left arm along your left ear. Right hand to the back of your neck where your hairline meets your neck. As you inhale, lift the head into the hands for the neck, and then twist the elbow and your chest open to the right. Twist back down, lower the head back down. So instead of lifting the head looking forward, we lift the hairline into the hand and then twist right elbow and chest open. Twist back down, lower. One more time, hairline into your hand, then rotate elbow and chest open to the right. Square down, lower down. Release the band. Stack the forehead on your hands and move your hips side to side. Roll your back. Plug the knees in towards your chest. Round the spine towards the floor. Keep hugging the knees towards the chest. Tuck your chin towards your throat. Lift your head. Roll up into a little ball. You want to clasp lower on your shins. You can do that. You can rock a little side to side. You can rock forward and back. You can just stay still. When you're ready, release. Let the knees fall in towards each other, feet on the floor. Straighten the left leg. Reach across with your left hand, grab your right knee and twist right knee to the left. Breathe low into your lungs. Roll back to your hips. Switch both knees in, then straighten right leg. Reach across with your right arm and take your left knee to the right. Breathe low into your lungs. And come back to your hips. Bend both knees. Shift and release whatever tension you feel in your low back, your mid back. Maybe let your head move side to side. And then as you're ready, roll to either side and press yourself up to a seated position. And we have come